Okay, hello everyone. Today I'm me, Kate Macau, and today is the 10th of September, and it's World Suicide Prevention Day. So basically, if we look at the statistics of people killing themselves each and every day, it's really tragic and heartbreaking. And according to WHO, there's been 700,000 deaths each and every year. And today I have Thoko J Mthiko who will take us through why Christians are killed themselves. We're going to understand what really is the problem among the Christians and what is the cause of suicide among Christians. So I'll just ask him to do a brief introduction about himself.
Well, thank you very, very much, Katie, for bring me here today so that we can learn an exploration, quick one, of course, um, as we commemorate the Suicide Day on a global level. Um, as you've put across, the numbers are really huge. Statistics are showing us that suicide is quickly, or death through suicide, is quickly turning into another pandemic by reason of the lives that we are losing each given day um, on a national level, and more so on a global scale. And we have an understanding that in one way or another, man as a creature is driven by belief, which is to say
Yes.
we in a way do believe in something. And we have a good population that does believe in the factor of God. Um, Maybe we can equally say does believe in the concept of supernatural being, that being God as we know it from the Christian level, Christian perspective, or that being any other supernatural being outside the God we know. So religiously, so people in one way or another do believe in life beyond this life. But now, quickly driving to our question, you are saying we're trying to ask you why people are killing themselves. To me, or rather, it builds an understanding to say, knowing life and knowing how Christianity has been presented, they remain that single bracket of people who, against all odds, are never in a way supposed to take away their lives. Yet still, the numbers are showing it that Christians are
Yeah.
killing themselves, or are among the fraction of people that do kill themselves. I'll, I'll point out one thing to say. I think I remember that was last year. That's the closest, one of the most closest and most painful instance I've come across. A colleague of mine happened to have taken away his life, and I remember how we went together for a Christian fell meeting, and we gathered together. We celebrated, and everything was intact. Going back, not knowing what was really in his mind. Going back, I think a month or two, that's when we got a report that this one good Christian brother, has killed himself. It left me with questions, of course, as to why will a Christian, dang talking for that matter,
Yeah.
with serious Christian ethics, kill himself. So um, I would attempt the question, why are Christians killing themselves from a particular perspective, which I've come across out of my interaction, not only
Yes.
with people, but more so with those who have been suicidal. Because
Yes.
by the grace of God, we've interacted with some, and I would later understand that this anchored the idea of suicide in them. Um, I think it's um, advisable if I begin to answer that question by putting out, say, a scripture from the Bible. I need to see to it that I'm godly.
Yes,
Otherwise,
please do that.
you might receive an invitation from your church. Young man, it is pretty request.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Yes. It's beautiful how the wisest man who ever lived, in as far as the Old Testament is concerned, would get to the end of his life. He never killed himself, but would get to the end of his life and made a statement that vanity of vanities, all things are vanity, which means he was making a conclusion of life, and he defined
Yes.
life to be vanity, empty, useless, nothing. He defined his definition of meaning of life after he had enjoyed life, lived and did everything. He get to a point and make a statement to say, you know what, this life thing is useless. I'm there looking at this wisest man, and why would he say such a thing? It's a question worthy of exploration because he is a figure we admire from the scripture. He
Yes.
had an ability to talk to God. God would visit him in a dream. Here he was mentored by one of the greatest kings who ever lived, King David.
True.
And he reached dimensions of wealth that no other king has ever touched. He built God a structure that the world as of that day had never seen, being built by a single man and dedicated into unto God. We see how peaceful he was round and about. The Bible puts it so. And yet, as a matter of fact, he'll go ahead and marry 700 wives and 300 concubines. Those are those are 1,000 women. What else on earth would a man need apart from
Exactly.
that which King Solomon had? And still at the end of his life, he has that guts to say vanity of vanities. This thing called life is vanity. It's a confusion. It's a confusion that he left the generation with. But that's not
Very
my
true.
exploration. That's not my focus. That's not my subject. My focus is this. He comes in the book of Proverbs, chapters number 13, and he makes a very, very, very profound statement that I believe might be a reason why Christians in our context are killing themselves. He made a statement, 13 verse 12. He said, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a desire fulfilled is a tree of life. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, which means a hope or expectation unsatisfied crushes the heart. Mhm. Then and there, he's defining the source of depletion.
Yes.
Because if we've done our reading and our research, we'll still get down to the fact that suicide happens because a person has reached into a space of depression. He's been deplaced to extremes where the essence of life is no longer there. Now, he made a statement, he said, hope deferred, expectation unmet makes a heart sick. In other words, if a man is hopeful and the hope that he has is not met, is not fulfilled, that person, his heart immediately gets sick. Mhm. Now, but then if that hope, if that desire, if that expectation is met, then and there, the reward that comes out of that, it's what this king defines as the tree of life. It means there is greater satisfaction, there is greater fulfillment when a person have his expectations met. But when
Yes.
the expectations of a person are not met, that heart is fractured, that heart is frustrated, that heart, that person in one way or another is depressed. Now, then and there, I begin to understand why Christians are among the carcass of men or the fraction of men that are killing each other. It's because we have hearts deferred in Christianity. You get where is that understanding coming from? Because we are, I think this is one of those, I shouldn't call it one of the worst, but I should call it one of those eras Christian, rather development put, one of those eras, one of those moments in history where every person needs a proper strategy in order to realize their visions, expectations, goals, or objectives. And we live in a world where achievement it's rewarding and it's self-fulfilling.
Yes.
Now, when we go to church, when we subscribe to the concept of Christianity, we do so with an understanding that Christianity provides for an avenue of attainment for goals, for visions, for dreams, whatever we can decide to put across. It means to me that Christianity positions us in a place where we begin to believe that there is power outside the natural powers of life that can grant us our desires. So we appeal to the deity, we appeal to the supernatural God, we appeal, we come and we say, oh God, that is what prayer is all about. That is what fasting is all about. That is what the concept of giving is all about. These are some of the foundational elementary pillars of Christianity. We go, we pray, we fast, we give, we go, we do all these things to the end we understand that the being beyond human, this creature called God, he's not a creature, created creature, but this being, I think that's the best way to put it. This being beyond, this supernatural being has that ability to answer us, to drive, to give us what we desire. You get now a Christianity as it is, we are having leaders, we are having preachers, we are having messengers, we are having men called of God who begin by reason of what they define as revelations, speak, preach, minister, share the gospel. With that, they begin to give us expectation of what God is able to do. What do I mean? If you come to my church, say for example, I'll begin to look at you and minister to you, telling you and my congregation at large that God is able to answer your problems. God is able to give you a child. God is able to sort your marriage. God is able to give you school fees. God, we begin to push these God can do kind of things. Realistic or unrealistic, that's debatable. But what I'm trying to point out is when that message is put across, we are trying to show, we are trying to bring the generation at a place of belief. And more importantly, we are giving this generation hope, so to say. And more importantly, we are conveying a message that this God will answer and will answer you today. Which means my hope, my expectation, my desire is if I say, God, give me a husband, I'm in church.
He has to give
We
me.
say 10 a.m. By the time I'm getting out of church 12 noon, I'm getting out of the church with a husband.
Exactly.
If I'm
Yes.
there in a church and I pray, I sow a seed, say, God, this is my seed of 100,000 and I want a job. If I'm getting out of the church because of the seed that I've sown, my expectation is by the time I'll be getting out of the church, I'll receive an email. Come collect your offer. That is the hope we are building. That is the expectation. God is immediate and God is instant. I don't mean to argue with that because there is that miraculous provision where God lends manna in a day.
Yes.
But Christianity must be conveyed as a structural project as well. As Christianity must be projected in this. There is a statement, the Bible says, in the process of time.
Yes.
That is Genesis coming through. In the process of time, it come to pass. In other words, there is a concept of Christianity where in the process of time, God begins to handle things to people. But Christianity is being projected to people against the process of time. It's as if
Yeah.
time loses its essence the minute Christianity comes into force. You can break the rules of time anyhow. You can violate. You can have the thing. You can give birth to a child today. That is how that is those are the extremes through which Christianity is projected. Now, because of that projection, because of that expression, because of that approach, we are having a generation which is expecting a very, very serious miracle today.
Right there
And
and then.
when, like there and then, you get. But when time begins to play its role, we are having a generation which can't wait because they haven't taught the place of waiting. They haven't taught the place of process. They haven't been taught the place of progression. What leads into what? You get like, a good example I can give you is this to say, if Elijah prayed to say, "Oh God, give me fire," and God dropped the fire on an instant, and there came a time when Elijah had to pray for rain to fall. And he goes up the mountain and he prays. The very first time he prays, "Oh God, bring rain, bring rain, bring rain." And Bible says, and he sent a messenger to say, "Go check if there is anything." The messenger goes and he sees that nothing is happening. You must understand that we are having a man who is praying for rain, yet his background entails that God had answered him and brought fire on an instant. Yet the first prayer he prayed for the rain never showed up. The second time he prayed for the rain never showed up. The third time he prayed for the rain never showed up. He's praying and praying until the seventh time. Then and there, the Bible is teaching us another language of perseverance.
Yes.
To say there are moments when we pray and this miraculous aspect of thing happens, but there are also moments when we need to persevere if we are to see our miracle. But now we are having Christianity at a point where there is no place. Why should you persevere when God is all powerful? Why should we wait when God is all fulfilling, the omnipotent?
Yes.
Now we have that kind of Christianity conveyed to us. Now, with Christianity conveyed in those lines, then that's where the challenge comes. Hope deferred makes a heart sick. How many hearts are sick in church because the
Yes.
gospel has been projected to them with such an urgency? Okay, that for me explains something. Explains something. Now, the other thing is this. That's the first assertion I would put. Why are Christians killing themselves? It's because our message. It's because our message is unstructured. Our approach to the concepts of life or the concepts of life and destiny is unstructured. It ought to be structured. There are those things that delivers in a day. There are those things that when they are to deliver, they need to find some primary issues administered, primary things set apart. They have to be there and find certain things in place. So if those things are not in place, then our answers might delay.
Yeah.
Our answers might delay. We are having God who is willing to bring a man on earth. But a man on earth won't just come when the waters are just raging. God has to separate the waters from the waters. God has to separate. God has to structure the earth in order to give man a place. You get. But now we are having a man with with unstructured life. We are having a man with a structured vision. Everything, even the character of his one being is unstructured. Yet still, out of that unstructured approach of life, what is he looking for? Instant answers to the prayers he's prayed. And God, when God doesn't jump into his space and offer him such a solution in such an immediate space, what happens? He's frustrated. He had his heart deferred. Rather, he has his heart sick because his hope has been deferred. That would be one of the things I would cite as to why Christians are killing themselves. Second most important aspect that I would really try to highlight or to pinpoint is this. Get me very, very, very clearly. Everything, everything humanity, let me not underscore it as humanity, everything Christians can't justify, everything Christians can't justify is caused by the devil.
Okay.
You get everything Christians can't justify is caused by the devil. Okay, let me define that. Everything evil Christians can't define is caused by the devil, which means if a person kills himself today as a Christian, we look at that person and say he's attacked.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And I
Yes,
don't
demons.
mean to underplay that concept, but collectively concluding that every person who kills himself has been attacked, has
Yeah.
brought Christianity on a place where it can't handle suicide matters.
Yeah. So basically, you're
Because
trying to say that the Christian community is not offering that community to support those people who are going through maybe depression or those people whose hope has been defined. So they're not offering that kind of safe space for those people.
exactly, you get, because in as far as the devil is concerned, we have one solution: pray and fast. You get. Now we are looking at a person who is suicidal and we are telling him pray and fast in order to push away that thought. But we must understand that this suicidal thought is coming or is benchmarked on an aspect that he has his heart deferred. So
Yes.
it's coming from an structured presentation of this concept of Christianity, which means what if it be the devil, and whatever the devil is praying, he's praying with something which has been presented in an unstructured way. So in other words, our approach to anything that is suicidal in a way, it's deliverance. Now that means Christianity is only handling life from a spiritual dimension of it. But life, per its structure, is tripartite. There is a spiritual aspect, there is a soulish aspect, and there is a physical aspect. All of these things ought to be addressed. Christianity has to be so structured in a way that it answers, it addresses life in its fullness. I must be able to go to church and be able to see the place of the devil. I must be able to go to church and be able to see the place of my emotions or emotional intelligence. I must be able to go to church and be able to see the law of my physical abilities. You get what I'm trying to highlight there is this. What I'm trying to highlight there is this. The Bible has shown us over and again. You
Yes.
and me are not the first people to be blessed. Are not the first people to run into a challenge. You get when when David uh had uh, 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 one of the most down depressing moment. He reached to a place of calling himself a dog. He says, I'm better than a dead dog. Like, he was cursed, and I remember he was cursed, and his men said, "Who is this man to curse the greatest king in Israel?" And David said, No, don't. I'm better than the dog. He was frustrated to the lowest point. But now, did David kill himself? No. Did David began to fast and all? Certainly no. There was an approach with which David employed for him to get back to the place of his value in life and integrity. Not only did that happen to David, we are seeing a similar approach happening to a man by the name Elijah.
Yeah.
Elijah is frustrated. He gets to God, God, kill me. I'm the only person alive here. My life is useless. Just kill me. God would appear to him, and he later begin to tell him, say, young man, you know what? I don't want to accuse you. But if that's what you want, here's what I want you to do. Go and anoint Hazael. Go and anoint Jehu. Go and anoint Elisha. And if we begin to look at these lives that he anointed
Yeah.
and how they handled life, we begin to understand that addressing Jezebel and addressing Ahab and addressing Israel at large in his days was more than just an issue of bringing fire from the mountain.
Yes. It was deeper than that.
You get it was more than that. He needed a kingship position, a kingship law. That's why he had to go and anoint a king. He needed a priestly law.
Yes.
That's or a prophetic law. That's why he had to go and anoint a prophet. It
Oh,
means
oh.
it was a double-edged approach for him to handle his challenges. There was a physical position that he needed to stand, a physical power that he needed to harness, and there was the spiritual position that he needed to take as well. What am I trying to justify? I'm trying to say that when we define everything as divine, we rule out the law of man in addressing certain issues in life. So if I go to church and let's say, okay, let's now begin to talk about your mental health. Let's sit down and begin to address your emotional pain. Let's get down to understand the issues about communication, language, interaction. They might
Yes.
sound so physical that the church might not be able to create a space for that. Because what I really want to do when I go to church is get up, uh, roll around on the floor, tie something on my waist, and aggressively. I used to say uh, aggressive depth of machinery prayer. That's what we want to do when we go to church. But come on, this man has killed himself because of communication issues between him and the wife.
Yes.
This is not
Yes.
just the devil. There are things we can apply that can change their communication abilities.
Uh-huh.
This man has killed himself because of economical issues in the country. There are skills, transferable skill set that this person can get apart from the prayer issue. Because even though we pray for this person, there is still a level of advancement he can't get to because he's not qualified for that.
Yes.
God is looking for a deliverer, but he can't really get to use Aaron because Aaron is not necessarily learned in the wisdom of the Egyptians. So God has to go back and search for Moses outside of Egypt. God had to go search for him and brought him back because there was that structural understanding, wisdom that Moses had. That when he applied that, he would be able to manage to govern the children of Israel throughout the transition. You get, so there is that
Yes.
position that the church can't really understand. We are having people killing themselves because they can't handle work-life balance. Now, we are laying hands on this such kind of a people and giving them hope and expectation. By the laying of on hands, the devil has been casted out. But this is not just about the devil. There is a place of intelligence in handling, managing, structuring life as it is.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
what I'm trying to justify, what I'm trying to highlight is why can't we get to that space? Why can't we get to that place where Christianity as it is, outside understanding, like I said, I'm not undervaluing the place of the devil. I know this guy is wicked. I know this guy can kill. His desire is to
Yes.
kill, to destroy, to steal. I understand that position, but we must also get to a place of understanding that if only Christianity can be structured properly, then we can live a very, very beautiful and a very, very happy life.
Yeah.
This thing called the gospel, if this thing called the gospel is rightly projected, then people might understand the place of forgiveness. That
Yes.
this what I'm passing through, if only I can learn how to forgive, then I will gain my health. Now, what I'm trying to conclude as my second point is to say we have we have we have overemphasized uh, 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 the divinity part of life. We've
Yes.
overemphasized the spiritual part of life and end up. I've, I had an exploration in my book, Born from the Altars of Sacrifice, justifying three important aspects. Okay. We have this. It's a quick win generation. Give me these quick wins, and you understand this is just a 19-year-old boy and a 20-year-old young man. He wants to be the greatest artist in the generation, and because of that, he begins to employ schemes which are wicked, which are evil, not knowing that becoming the greatest artist in the generation is a responsibility. Becoming the richest man in the community is a responsibility. Now, because the quick, wicked means that he's employed, then the responsibility comes on him. But because he has this immature mentality, immature emotional intelligence, he's not that fit to handle the emotional pressure that comes with that which you've in a crooked way jump into. He's emotionally drained, and we think this young man was doing good, not knowing that whatever he employed would in a week or two bring him at a place of suicide. He get money, but he was in debt. He got the money, but he didn't have the necessary connections. He got the money, but at the end of the day, that sucks life out of this, in quotes, innocent creature. What if we properly structure our message?
Yes.
Two, what if we define properly the place of the physical body, the place of the soul, and the place of the spirit? You get, with that
Yes.
approach, I believe in one way or another, we'll have a community that will have the emotional strength and carry the ability of facing it head on. So, if I might uh, um, justify from my own analysis, why we as Christians are part of this fraction, then I
Yes.
believe these two things for me have been primarily factors that have gotten to. Yes,
Oh,
thank you very much, Katie.
oh, thank you so much. So I have spoken a lot, but I just have this one question. We generalize like Christians as a whole, but these factors that you have mentioned, um, hope being defined, and as well as not creating that safe space for people. Do you think these factors also apply to pastors who commit suicide?
Yes, 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 extremely yes. If I am a pastor, apart from that, I'm ministering to my people and bringing them to a place where their hope is unrealistic. I have my own ambitions. I believe my church will grow, skyrocket from 2, 3 members to 100 members in a week because
Yeah.
I've heard a call from God, and I think my 100 members will settle my bills. The first 3 months. So the first 3 months from the day I structured my church, I believe my church will be up and running and they'll be able to pay my bills, they'll buy me a car, and etc. etc. Most importantly, for this kind of ministers who are what should I call them? Uh, the ones who are ministering off the mainland churches, the ones who start their own ministry and churches, not necessarily the ones who are trained to pioneer, who have the backing of the mainland, the CCPs, the Assemblies of God, and the
Yes.
churches. Okay, so I'm looking at a pressure from such a man of God. You get in these
Yes.
lines. Now, because he has that expectation, my church will settle my finances, my church will skyrocket in numbers, my church this, my church that. He has these things, these expectations. He's been watching on YouTube, on TV, and you've seen
Yes.
how ministers with mega churches are doing it. And this is a life he would love to emulate. And when he sits in that space and he's trying to emulate this life, but he doesn't have the means to sustain it, trust you me,
Exactly.
the pressure in a day or two, but as time goes, he might handle the pressure in a day or two, but as time goes, if this still remains a standard of life he wants to project, if this one won't kill himself, this young man will compromise himself.
Very true.
Those are two things I'm confident about. It's either he will consult diabolical orders, or this man of God will
Yes.
give up on ministry and give up on life at large. Now, giving up on ministry is not a cheap thing. Okay? Giving up on ministry is something you've said. This man of God was once a man of God and has stopped being a man of God. Living with that failure, it's not easy.
It's not easy.
You get. Now, because living with that failure is not easy, there are only two justifications: compromise. Still be called a man of God was consulting evil, wicked, diabolical orders, or um, give up on life at large. You better stop existence and
Yes.
live with the shame of being caught. So yes, pastors are subjected to that. Pastors are subject to that, and equally so, I'm talking about this aspect that growing a congregation, growing a church, it's not just a prayer. It's not just a prayer concept. Prayer does
Yes.
play a role. Fasting does play a role. But we have to go down to the basics of church growth and we
Exactly.
understand, are we really applying real issues, real concepts? In order, in as far as church growth, there is that place of supernatural intervention of God in church growth. But there is also a place where now you have to apply intelligence. God was not stupid by giving us a mind. You get. God was not stupid by giving us a brain. He understood this man is a man of reason. He will put his
Yes.
mind to use and he will bring about strategies in order to advance in life and to advance in destiny.
Mm.
So
Very
they
true.
do apply to leaders. They do apply to leaders. They do apply to men seemingly in unique positions. And the pressure on their head is double the pressure on a normal member or on an ordinary member. You get so he's having pressure from church, he's having pressure from family, he's having pressure from raising children, pressure from and and unfortunately they play big man sometimes. You
Very
get
true.
they
Yes.
pray big man by saying that they pray big man. What I'm trying to say is they need to appeal to their congregation that they are not victims because they are the men whom the church is anchoring on. But what will these people? What will the lashes do when the foundations are broken?
Yes.
You get what will happen? Bible says the world will be out of course.
Yes.
You see. So yes, they are affected in a way. They are affected in a way. That's why it is very, very, very important mm, to have a resounding board. You get to have that pastoral circle, people you can
Yes.
confide in.
People you're accountable to. Yes.
Yes, it is important, very, very important to have people speaking to you, tell you that what you are meeting is not a unique situation. There is a solution. This is how we handle A. This is how we handle B. That's why the place of mentorship. It's important for you to be given a very wise, unique, honest feedback.
Yes.
The mentor
Yes.
needs to be mentored. So yes, to answer your question, they do apply.
Wow. So the pressure from pastors from mega churches, yes, I do agree with that. But then,
Mm.
come to think of it, right? Don't you think like the Christian society has normalized this thing called thought suppression, whereby I wouldn't say normalized, but they've triggered it because whereby if someone tries to speak up, the people they're actually underlooking the situation, they're like, okay, this is not like a big deal. What do you think about that?
Um, I would comment to say I I'm not so sure of the numbers, but I love this. Um, I don't know if they still do it. I haven't done my research around it, but I love this Catholic approach where you'd go into the priest would sit in that other room and you would go into this other room and you go there and you just confess your evils, you confess, you'd speak out. Mm. Why is that important? There is peace in confession. When the Bible came and said, confess with your mouth, there is healing in confession. The Bible, God is all wise. He knew. You get when the Bible says confess your sins one to another, the Bible knew these people won't bother me. If only they can get to the place of being able to talk, half the challenges are handled. Okay. Half the challenges, half this we've handled, we've addressed most issues. If I can only get a generation to a place of talking, it's just now that we are growing in a culture where I can't even talk to my parents about my struggles because I would rather go and say, "Oh God, this is my A, this is my B, this is my C." But I've sat under a session at some point and I learned addressing issues of addiction. I learned that if a generation is to break addiction, the very primary principle it's speak it out. be accountable to
Yes.
someone. Which means if we are to address issues being of addiction or suicide, then we have a healing in the aspect of opening up. But in a society where you have to open up to one being and that being is God and God alone, I think we are not really doing ourselves that much of. Particularly from traumas. Particularly from traumas or traumatic issues.
Yes.
You know, we
Yes.
are coming from a we didn't we, most of us were not born again. That's why we are born again.
Amen. Yeah.
It's a funny statement, but it's true. We are born in families where we've been molested, where we've been abused, where we've suffered. Our background have has has traumatized us, has been evil. We've been raised in an environment where we don't even want to look back into our stories. The way our parents have treated us, our guardians have treated us, we are victims, and more importantly for women, it's even worse. We've suffered our background. We've been raised in an environment which is inhuman. Now, coming to know Christ has to be a solution.
Yes.
But with a generation that has come to seek for Christ yet hasn't healed from their past, that becomes an issue as well. That becomes an issue as well because we haven't forgiven those who've hurt us who've hurted us the most. We haven't gone to the space of forgiving even ourselves for the wickedness, the evils we've done. Our past still haunts us. We are there praying. And the devil takes advantage of that. I remember this funny story that when you are praying, this our pastor told us some time back. So when you are praying, the devil comes and whispers to you, do you remember the evils you've done?
Yes.
So he takes advantage of our past and with us not forgiving ourselves. No, we need that space now where we can just sit around and say, these are my deepest fears. I attended a program by what is called Faith Connect, a program run by one um, Christian leader. They had a program where they would write a note to themselves because they understood people want to open up. So what I'm gonna do to our people? Write a note to yourself. Write a note to your past. Tell us
Yeah.
what your fears are. Tell yourself what your fears are. And once you write that note, please give it in an anonymous way. Give it to the man of God. So they would lie to themselves and give to the man of God. And the man of God would bring those cases to an open discussion. Or we have this note A. So they would read the note and the people would begin to give solutions. That in my assessment, that was a good intervention because we are
Yeah.
emotionally downgraded. The pain is so real. Our past is haunting us. And once we get into this whole Christian stuff, we tend to forget in a day. We suppress the thing.
Yes.
But now
Yes.
with thought suppression, I always say you suppress a thing today, you can suppress it for a year. It is possible to suppress a thought for 5 years.
Yes.
But the minute that thought finds a loop to come through, it becomes what is called a hyper visibility mode. And that's a bad aspect. You've I believe you've been there before. Your past has appeared. The moment your past
Has.
appears in that hyper visibility mode, it overclouds everything.
Yes.
The psychologists have alluded to this. They have confirmed this. When after you've suppressed the thought, when that thought tries to appear, it appears in a hyper mode, and it
Mm,
overcrowds every other aspect and the value of life. To the end, what happens? The person doesn't find meaning. This was a Christian yesterday. Today, you've drowned himself in Likangala River. And so, oh, this one was a Christian. You've hanged
imagine.
himself in a room. Ah,
It's heartbreaking.
that's and suicide is not the only solution. Rather, the only solution people are resorting to. When this past hit them hard, they go back to the wicked. He was a praying man yesterday. Today, he's gone back to drinking. Praying man yesterday, they've gone back to prostitution, gone back to this smoking. They've gone back to the antisocial behaviors or malpractices. What really happened? I don't know. Something just took this the devil. No, 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 no. Come on. It's not the devil. There is something we haven't handled of yet. There is something we haven't applied ourselves to. So can we bring ourselves in that space? Let's talk issues.
Yes.
Let's If we can get into that space, if we can handle us in that aspect, I believe strongly, I do. As Christians, half our populations won't even line up on our prayer list, prayer petition list. Yes, so um it's a bad development that Christian is resonating to.
Yes.
Talk to God and talk to God alone. But the Bible is open. It says confess one to another. Confess. Talk. Open up one
Yes.
to another.
To another.
You see, open up one to another. In so doing, we can find a solution and handle these issues.
Yeah. All right. So allow me to ask this question. It might be somewhat personal. So I
Mhm.
want permission from you. So in the beginning, you told us about how your friend killed himself.
Mm.
And first of all, I'm truly sorry about that situation. But then, if you had a chance today and you meet him and you saw the signs, what would you tell him?
Um, I've, that wasn't the only case I've come across. There are other situations I've come across. I remember um, uh, that was a very time saving intervention. I think that was just God in control. I
Yeah.
had a plan to visit this one friend of mine. And I actually entered the door without even knocking. This person wanted to kill herself without closing her door. Uh, But I entered the room. Upon entering the room, I found she wanted to overdose herself. The meds were in her hands. I almost slapped her. Eh, what are you
Yeah.
thinking? Of course, she would cite the cause for whatever she wanted to do to her relationship, her love relationship with her boyfriend. We just called it quits. You get. But
Yeah.
now, I remember sitting down with her and just try to understand what is it that life drives value from,
Yes.
because killing yourself out of the suicidal, those who've had suicidal thoughts, killing yourself, my assessment has brought me to the conclusion that whatever you are passing through, whatever issue it is, has overclouded the value of life. You don't see the reason anymore. Okay. Now, if I were to meet him, and including the other meetings that I've had with people who've been
Yeah.
suicidal, one of my core um, points that I hinge on is the value of life. Where do you drive value from? Because that would drive me at a place of say, I'm gonna kill myself, or I'm strong enough to come to walk through this issue. Okay. So your value of life is not defined. That's where an issue comes in.
Yes.
Of what worth I am, of what worth am I?
Mhm.
You get. So
Yes.
um I salute those people who did the curriculum and they would include life skills. Some of
Yes.
things would
Mhm.
build self-worthy, self-esteem, and building self-image. Those core aspects of life skills are very, very important. We should still go back to those foundations. What is it that your life value anchors on? There is a God factor, yes, but what is it that your life anchors on? Because if your life, if you truly have singled out the aspect of value, rather the value your life has, then you drive strength from there. I
Yes.
don't have money, yes, but my life is what is much more important than the money I don't have. My relationship has ended, yes, but my life, I'll drive value from my life than from this relationship that I've just ended.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I understand my parents are absent, yes, but my life is still gonna show up because of now you've defined rather the value of life. Having defined the value of life, you have gotten forth to define the sub aspects that gives that feeds into that.
Yes.
You get now, young man, come on, what's life all about? And what are the things that feeds into this thing? You get. So say for example, in this case, I might have gotten to a place of defining the value my life has, and I've realized, Christianity or my faith feeds into uh, 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 or rather leave us down into this concept of value and my education and my relationship and say my career, whatever. These are things that feeds into my value of life. You get. They river down into this. It simply means if if I failed school, school is not the only thing feeding value into my life. You get. I can be able to say, okay, fine, I have this business. Let me focus on this and as I restructure my life. Perhaps I have this family. Let me focus on family as I. So you have something to bend to just
Yes.
because one other aspect. It's the very same concept of diversifying your means of uh, life, not putting your eggs in one basket. Because if
Yes.
your life only drive value solely from your relationship, if your relationship fails, you don't have a thing. So can we go back to this concept of self-image, self-worth, esteem?
Yes.
How do we really build this? I think if we can go there and people are able to define the place of value, then we have a solution, or rather we have a generation that will live longer. Yes, that's how
Yes.
I'll point that.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you. As we're about to close, do you have anything to say to the Christian community and to that one person who is going to listen to this and maybe they're battling with suicide thoughts or they're battling with depression and there's nobody out there to hear them out or they're thinking that nobody is going to understand them or they've just resorted to like suppress whatever they're going through?
Well, the first thing is you're not the only person going through the worst. I have a friend, a very close friend, still alive today. He walked me through his life, and I slapped the nonsense out of my life by listening to his story. You get. Grew up in an orphanage, made the worst of life. Her parents died by his side. Uncle, he've gone through university receiving 1,000. on a day from an uncle. You get, and I was like, how 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 how, how are you surviving? Yet he managed to, if he had one of the worst upbringing and he walked through it, didn't kill himself. He has one of the best smiles in the world. You get, and I'm there. Wow. So we have men like him. So you as an individual, your situation is not, you are not the only one passing through the worst. You are not the only one passing through the worst. So don't give up on life. Not now, not today, not in this moment, not in this time and age. No, don't give up on life. That's one of the things I should point out first. Actually, the second thing I should point out to is this: a Christian or not or otherwise, life has many derivatives. So don't close your life on one aspect. Don't do yourself injustice. Please don't. Please don't. Don't do yourself injustice. We are all living in a world which is facing problems, challenges, economic issues over and again. But there is this saying that there is light at the end of the tunnel. If there is light at the end of the tunnel, you don't get to sit in the tunnel. You learn to move in the dark. So learn to move in the dark. Make the steps, baby steps, or otherwise, provided they are steps. Don't sit on your issues. Please don't. Please don't. Don't sit on your issues. Walk, move, smile, and don't hide your problems. We are not angels, speak them out. What if they laugh at me? Let them laugh at you. But you must understand that by speaking them out, that is healing. By just opening up, that is healing. You get, so talk to people who listen, confide in people who matter, who counts on you, people who values you. You never know what you're struggling with. It's a phone call away, you know. And I can't really undervalue the place of God. Come to Jesus. Come to Jesus. Bible says this young man by the name Judas would sell the Christ, would sell the Christ, would sell the Christ, and Christ, I'm selling you. So he sold the Christ. Having sold the Christ, he never got back to. But we are having this young man by the name Peter. He did not sell the Christ. He did not sell the Christ, but he denied him. But having denied him, he had the willingness and the desire to say, let me go back to God. You get it? This young man by the name Judas never desired to go back to God. So what happens? He killed himself. He killed himself. I'm there pleading with you. I'm there pleading with you. Don't walk that path. Don't decide to walk that path. Let's face life head on, smile at it, come back to God. He is all willing to accept, to forgive, and to give us beauty once more. There is hope when the tree is cut that it shall grow again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I would truly appreciate for that word. We really appreciate. So you are not alone and you matter. Thank you.